the accountability for all those who are being killed in the southwest and northwest regions, who actually account for these killings, and also questioning the place of justice in all of this. We all have been clamoring for justice in Cameroon, especially in the situation of what is happening in the northwest and southwest regions. But where do we place justice today with the rampant killings? On whose orders are these killings are taking place, and should we one day say we have to judge persons? Who is going to account for the lives that are being taken on a daily basis in these conflict-stricken regions of our country? We are discussing this with panelists who are already with me in the studio. Two of them are here with me. One is out of the country. We also are expecting two of them to join us in the course of the program. They may have been caught by traffic. We are in the company of Professor Mark Anthony, who is a Pan-Africanist. Good evening and welcome.
Good evening, Mr. Leo. Good evening to Africa. Good evening to Cameroon, and to all the well-wishers of my media prime, wherever they are. It is indeed a pleasure to be here today to discuss on issues that concern the very lives of Cameroonians, particularly of the northwest and the southwest region. You know, it is a terrible issue getting to recognize and getting to realize that the people who rose up in the name of fighting for the freedom and independence of the people of the northwest and southwest region have become the very enemies of the very people of the northwest and southwest region. Today, the rampant killings that are taking place, daily you hear of death. You can't be able to recognize what is happening. I think it is very important for us to discuss on this issue, because already it has gotten too far and we can't know when it is going to end. And for the fact that we do not know or do not have a certain date for this, the end of this issue, we are going to be calling on the consciences of whosoever gives the command, whosoever gives the go-ahead for the killings to take place, to get to understand that these are human lives, and human lives are very sacred. You don't clown with the life of a human being. You can't even create a human being. So being able to give a command or to even kill another human being means you are worse than the devil himself. And those are some of the things that we are going to be discussing today. And I think that it is time for Cameroonians to know that evil has been enthroned in this nation, and we as a people should be able to willingly fight against it and do everything possible to uproot it from this continent and this nation, Cameroon.
Okay, we're also in company of Ndiwum Emmanuel, who is a core member of Cameroon Civil Society. We're glad to have you. Good evening. Welcome.
Good evening, Mr. Leo, and thank you for having me. It's a pleasure, but with a heavy heart. At one point in time today, when I was preparing this program, I asked myself a few questions. Which day shall I be called up on the TV to count the blessings, the successes of my country? Which day shall I be called up to count the number of tar roads, the number of highways tarred, the developmental level of Cameroon? Each day we come here, we come to talk from one sad story to another. But knowing that God still exists, there is still hope. That is why we still accept to come.
There is hope for Cameroon, there is hope for Africa, and there is hope for mankind. We also are going to be discussing with Madame Bibiane, who is going to be joining us from Canada. She is a peace and social justice activist and the CEO of BHAF, one of the most active non-governmental organizations helping the underprivileged out there in the northwest region. She has seen it all, living life what the people of the northwest and southwest regions have faced the past 7 years. Good evening, Madam Bibiane, and happy to have you on Prime Hour.
Thank you very much, Mr. Liu. Dear panelists, dear viewers of my Media Prime, I'm very, very elated to be here this evening. And on the topic, who will account for the killings in the Southwest and Northwest region? Where is the place of justice? I'm very, very excited to contribute on this very, very critical and crucial topic, which aligns with the work that we have been doing for the last 7 years on the situation in the Northwest and Southwest region. It is my utmost delight that all of us are going to throw more light on this very, very important topic that will shape the way forward for all what is happening for the world and for our consciences to prick us and know where we are and what steps we need to take to pave the way for those who are still alive. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Madam Bibian, I'll start with you. Just stay on, or we'll start the program with you. You have believed the situation in almost all the divisions of the Northwest region. Can you paint the picture of what you've seen before what we now live with the killings, the recent killings?
Thank you very much, Mr. Leo, for this question. This is something that defines my work and my passion. For the last 7 to 8 years, we have been on the field working in poorer communities in the Northwest and Southwest region, because that is our passion as a grassroots organization. What is at stake and what our eyes have seen, my mouth cannot even describe it to the world. And I think it is time we bring out the crucial issues of where people have been. Because when we walk on the corridors of powers and we sit in decorated rooms for conferences, we don't understand what people have gone through. I've lived the conflict where women and girls taken to the bushes and back. Mothers have been imprisoned because their children are carrying arms. They cannot even tell their stories because they have been maimed for life. Families have lost loved ones that they are even unable to go through a day without pains, without crying. Communities are left just with the shadow of themselves because there is absolutely no structure put in place to address the needs of the people. It's even more scary when you hear kidnappings, death in places where we used to think that were friendly environments, were places where we could commune as a community, like the recent kidnapping of the deputy mayor. What we have been through in the last 7 years, Mr. Liu, and our dear viewers, is indescribable to the human eyes. It's something I can call a near hell on earth in Cameroon. Unfortunately, the powers that be, for whatever reason, some of these things cannot be brought to the public. But I think as an organization, as a structure, all of these things are documented both in pictures, and if my media prime will be honest enough, we'll be very happy to share these images of what looks like in our poorer communities. You are a living witness of what is going on now. People can merely travel in between our local communities. There is massive insecurity, no roads, places that were considered places of worship, places of solace, have been desecrated. Human life that we used to value as a community has turned to be nothing of a shadow, nothing that with the twinkle of an eye we can take away. It is a situation of hopelessness and despair. It is a situation that we only try to speak about normalcy, but things are not normal for the right thinking person. And I think it is high time we don't only put words, but we try to see how we can replay the scenarios, because there can be no justice, there can be no peace without justice. And there can be no justice when we don't have an enabling environment. The situation back in our communities is a cause for concern. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Madam Bibian, painting the picture of what she's lived, because her organization is very, very involved in activities out there. Just to know that she was also part of the commission that came out with the findings on the killings in Garbu that corrected the prevailing information. Now, you've listened to her, and frequently you go to the Northwest region. Are you very comfortable when you are in Bamenda, moving down to Babanki and other parts of the region?
It has never been a safe journey actually traveling to the Northwest in general, not to talk of going down to Babanki.
Mm-hmm.
You see, what our beloved sister May Bibiana is describing, she's using soft words to express the pain that she carries in her heart. Every time you gain access to the Northwest region, arriving at matters, you get to start feeling a different atmosphere. You feel the threat that the atmosphere communicates to you. You feel the fright that the atmosphere communicates to you. With the number of military stop points that used to be, I think now they have been removed. Apart from that, you get to feel the fear that is lingering in the air from the fright that the amber, or so whatever they are called, projects to the community. I remember one time I was going down to Babanki and I met a policeman. In fact, there was a police checkpoint, and they told us, be careful, there is another checkpoint just a kilometer ahead of you. And I asked them, why is it that you know that they are there and you cannot go and attack them? They laughed. But you see, today I am getting to understand what is happening. I was shocked that in the midst of all this, in the midst of the killings, in the midst of the insecurity, we have battalions of military people. I will not attack them because they are doing their ultimate best to preserve peace in that city of Bamenda as well as in the region. They are doing their ultimate best. But I don't think that that is what is going to help. I think the people of the Northwest region have a responsibility to put an end to this issue. The people of the Southwest region have a responsibility to put an end to this issue. I know very well that there are situations that have encouraged a lot of things to happen. For example, there are individuals which at a particular period of time were claiming that there was no Anglophone problem. You and I will always agree that if there was no Anglophone problem, there would have been no calling of a meeting by the President of the Republic of Cameroon, Mr. Biya, for a national dialogue. There were individuals who renounced and denied that there was no Anglophone problem, but Mr. Biya told them that there was an Anglophone problem and let it be discussed. That was a means to express to the people who were fueling this issue by saying that there was no Anglophone problem. Yes, there is an Anglophone problem. But I want to ask those individuals who call themselves Anglophones, how did you become an Anglophone if not of colonialism? Is colonialism or the colonial culture becoming a part of the culture of the people of the Northwest and the Southwest region? No. We have a culture which we should cherish the most. Does it mean that the Anglophone culture teaches us to kill one another? No, I don't think so. Irrespective of the blame we might want to put on the opposite side, the government and whatsoever, the government will be blamed tomorrow for all the ills that are happening. But the killings among our own people should be blamed on those who are sanctioning it, wheresoever they are. I think that it is time for us to really get back, sit on a table, and discuss among ourselves, tell ourselves the truth. Those of you who are encouraging the killings of the people, you are the greatest enemy of this nation. And let me be sincere in telling you this. Wheresoever you are, don't think that killing a person will let you be free. When you kill, your own chances of death, whatsoever weapon you use, will come back to you. Wheresoever you are sitting, for those who are sitting in Europe, sitting in the United States, and giving orders for people to be killed, claiming, I remember I just heard one of them the other day came up and said, Limbe is the cause of whatsoever, there should be a ghost town whatsoever in Limbe. Those individuals giving these commands need a serious, I don't know whether you are going to ever enter this country. Even if we finally return to peace, forget this nation, because most of you will be treated the way you are treating others. Okay. Justice is not going to come, or whatsoever, peace is not going to come without the justice that you people have been demanding for. The justice is going to fall on you people. And when it falls, that's when we'll have peace.
Okay, let's look at accountability for the killings in the Northwest and Southwest regions. The numbers keep increasing because people keep dying, and shockingly, those who are dying today are not the military nor armor, but the civilians who are falling. How do we place the blame on those killing? Who takes account? Who is going to be dragged to court to account for the lives that are being wasted today?
Okay, Mr. Leo, thank you for that question. When you look at it very critically, I want to say that if we must want to look for justice now, we'll be creating a situation for more deaths. What I want to look at it from a different perspective, contrary to what Prof. Mark said a while ago, that the population of the Northwest and Southwest region has a responsibility to rise up. In his own village, the women rose up, and you saw what happened to the women, grandmothers for that matter. They don't have guns. They don't have anything to protect themselves. I want to look at it today at a very quiet moment. I was looking at a solution graph. Mm-hmm. This one is coming personally from my own thinking. And in this solution graph, at the base level, we have the population that is barely helpless. They don't have anything to protect themselves. At the second level, we have the civil society organizations that have a role to play. The third level, we have the political parties that equally have a role to play. Now, when we go up again, we have the 8 other regions of Cameroon still on this solution graph that have a role to play. Second to the last step, we have Amber, which are those people who are perpetrating this havoc on us. Top on the grid, we have the government that owns the country. And you will understand and bear with me that the government has what it takes to call the civil society to sit together. The government has what it takes to call the political parties to come in together. The government has what it takes to sensitize the base population on how to go about it. And the government has what it takes to bring in international organizations to sit on the table and talk things out. Now, for those who think that blaming the government all the time is not normal, I will repeat tonight that it is very normal, because the government have all the mechanisms that it takes to bring in the civil society, You know, it is in times of war that you can test the political maturity of a country. If Cameroon was very mature in terms of politics, this would have been a time for the ruling party to be able to sit together with the opposition, the civil society, and the religious leaders to chart a way forward. But we have discovered that in as much as people are dying every day, the government remain on the high horse. Amber remain on the high horse. But then, at the end of the day, you are asking the question, who shall account for this? We all know those who are abroad giving orders for this. We saw the Rwandan, 1994 Rwandan genocide. Till date, people are still being captured and being imprisoned. And we all know the Ayabachos, all of them, without, I don't even want to dignify them by calling the names. And we know all those who are in Cameroon that have a direct role to play to put this war to an end. They have not been doing so. I've often said the missions abroad, the fake missions to Northwest and Southwest cannot end this war. The cost of ending this war is less costly than all the missions we have been spending money sending people abroad. It lies in one word: sincerity. I think if the government is sincere enough, this is what I am proposing tonight. If the government calls a genuine dialogue today, and in that genuine dialogue, us, the Cameroonians, we will be observing all those people abroad who will try to perturb this genuine dialogue. Those are the people who know that they don't want peace to come back to Northwest and Southwest. And there, all Cameroonians should rise up as one man and fight. What is making some Cameroonians to still be lacking behind in the fight against the atrocities of Amber in Norwest and Southwest is because they are claiming that the government has not been very inclusive in their approach. What do I mean inclusive in their approach here? If the government gets up tomorrow, this is a member of CRM, a Pan-Africanist, I am a member of the civil society, and decide to call everybody on board, Mr. Leo, nothing will exist as justice if we don't start forgiving ourselves from the individual level. I need to start forgiving myself tonight from what I must have contributed directly or indirectly. Collectively, we need to forgive ourselves. And from that level, we go to national reconciliation approach. If we must spend time counting death, this war will never end. I say it will never come to an end. If we must count how many corpses have been buried, then we are seeking a new form of revenge that will never end this war. And so to speak, I am saying that it is time for every individual to start making peace with yourself wherever you are. No matter what you have lost, if we keep an eye for an eye only leaves the world blind. A tooth for a tooth only leaves the world empty. I think it is time for the government to be very honest enough to apologize. It is simple. If the approach is inclusive, the civil society, the Pan-Africanists, the political parties, the religious leaders, from that point, we can tell Cameroonians it is easy to forgive ourselves and accept that the government made a mistake from the start because they started it. Amber benefited from it, and Amber is dealing with it because actually Amber is the representation of hell in Cameroon as of now. You cannot tell me how, and I will end by congratulating the outing of the senior divisional officer for Boyo, who said he does not understand how in his own jurisdiction he will need to work with military behind him. He never grew up as such a man. He grew up as a free man. And he is thinking that military need to sit somewhere. Let's call out the elites of Boyo. Let's call the religious bodies that are in Boyo. Let them talk sense into these boys. There is no need for an Amber boy to die. There is no need for a military man to die. But there is a need for the people of Boyo to talk to these children and talk sense into themselves. I am paraphrasing his word, thinking that it can go across the board. And I think that is equally one of the approaches that can be used.
Okay. The Kangaroo man just joined us, and Mr. Tayong. He is the Deputy Communication Secretary for the Cameroon Renaissance Movement. I'll start by congratulating him for a successful organization of the Golden Awards ceremony. That's the 4th edition that took place out there in Boya, Southwest Regional Capital. Congratulations for successfully organizing the event, and thank you also for accepting to be part of this edition of the program. And we are looking at who should take the blame, who should account for what is happening. You know that 4 persons were killed 2 days ago in Bamenda, a young girl, 15-year-old, the deputy mayor of Balikumbat. We know that this is the vice principal of GBHS. Kumbo was also killed, and lots of persons are dying. How do we render justice for these people?
First of all, thanks very much for receiving me, and thanks for sending at least my media prime to be part and parcel of the Golden Award which just ended. And also greetings to Mami Salindum, who's watching us as the oldest member of the award, the eldest media-friendly woman in the media category. She is above 80 years of age and was quite very much present. And above all, greetings to Tumfo Barrister Niku Hali, who was the patron of the event. Talking about who should be blamed, you know, as I keep saying, I don't want to be talking water in my mouth, because I have spoken several times. Yaoundé is listening, Yaoundé is watching, but at each point in time, things go wrong. Now, there is a missing link in this aspect of who to be blamed. The first thing is, who are those who are not saying the truth as it is? These persons take the shot. They are watching me now. When you are a CPDM militant, I'm surprised they're not here, because I was started with them. I say anything see that I meet anywhere. That's David's. I just start.
Yeah, but we are not talking about the CPDM.
Yes, we are not talking about it. Yes, but they call the shots. Why do I say we need to get to hold those who are responsible? If there is a problem in your house and a man tells you there's no problem when there's a problem, that man himself is a witch or a wizard in broad daylight. Now look at it, Mr. Leon. This is an analysis Cameroonians have been refusing to take. I said, if you are bathing and a madman picks your dress and is running, and you leave the river where you are naked and start chasing him, you are more mad than him who has taken your dress and is running. I will equate this like what we call the Amber aspect and the government. Now, the government has all the tools it takes to arrest the situation. The militaries, they are trained, they have done human rights, they have done martial combat, they have done everything, International Declaration of Human Rights, Geneva Convention, and all those big grammars, they have done them. You cannot tell me that because A is killing, you too want to kill. I will tell you that there are instances whereby people have been arrested as Amber boys, and they are summarily executed without, because sometimes the military will tell you, I will not get time, on a part of time. If you finale. But you discover that that is something Amber is doing. So Amber will catch you if you are military and kill. The military cannot catch you and bring you to the detention center. If they see that you're Amber, no. The story is they finish with you on the spot. So 2 killings don't make it right, because those are 2 wrongs. And so at the end of it, I said, those who are responsible, who can be held accountable, are those who know that there's a problem and they refuse to. Take, for example, the Gweko incident. How do you tell me that people are summarily executed in the Gweko in Manfe? That same day, CPDM were busy celebrating an anniversary in the CPDM hall. And there was nothing like, no, let's hold on this celebration. Some lives important have been lost. Let's focus on what is happening. No. Those in Yaoundé were drinking their champagne. Those in Bamenda were busy enjoying those other areas. And they waited for the events to take about 48 hours before they came back to start telling us whether we are going or we are coming down. No, this is not serious. These are the persons we are supposed to hold them in toto. Give us an analysis about that. Yes.
A mayor was killed in Balikumba.
Correct.
4 persons who went to Big G snack were killed.
Yes.
For going there.
Too bad.
This yeah.
a senior man of the PCC in Melim, in Bui, yesterday. Our boys.
Okay. There is, I don't know. There's
The
this,
kids are accountable.
There's this child, 15-year-old. There's this 15-year-old
Yes.
child
yeah.
who was pleading
Yeah,
that the father should not be kidnapped. She was also killed.
Correct.
I think last month, 2 persons were roasted in their car.
Yeah.
2 were killed in my 15.
Yeah.
How do we explain this?
Good.
Yes, when we kill all of these persons, do we know that one day we're going to render account to somebody?
You know, I had said on this media platform several times, when I was talking about there will be a special backup tribunal. In that case, I told the public, listen to us, that people will account for it. Whether you are AMBA, or you are divisional officer, or you are the commander, or the army commander, or the brigade commander, or the commissioner, where a particular atrocity was committed. And that's why I said, all these things are being documented. And so it's a matter of fact that no one will go scot-free unless you die before that time. This is a fact here. And so because it is a collective blame game, which is not on one side or the other, but my analysis is as usual. Who causes it? Mr. Law, I'm telling people that one of the major factors of this killing that people need to blame is the aspect of people pretending that all is well. How do you explain that people are still living under the banner of provocation? Let sleeping dogs lie. A man does not see him somewhere, you come and then you start tapping him to tell him that everything is fine. Why? Because, as I said, it's like you are bathing and a man takes off your dress.
Yeah, what was the provocation in Egbeko? What was the provocation of this young lady?
Yes.
And what was the provocation in this mayor who went for a burial? What was the provocation in Bamenyam?
These are the issues, Mr. Leo.
Yeah, but what are the provocation you say?
When I say provocations, for example, there are instances of provocation in that before these incidents happen, circumstances around cause the provocation. Let me take you, for example, the issue in Big G. First, you understand there was a parade in town. And there was an Amba fighter who was among the parade, who was parading also among with the crowd. All right. In that parade, I'll tell you that this is my analysis, because when you parade as such, with even a member of the DDR, who is seemingly giving you the impression that things are very okay, you could trigger an issue in the man of an evil man, which was not there. Because all killings are not justified.
Are you not justifying something?
No, Mr. Leo, I am not justifying. What I'm saying is that we should be able to avoid, because we are in a volatile situation. Mr. Leo, you cannot sit and I come and I'm dancing in front of your house that everything is fine. Or I am celebrating a partisan issue that I know that area is volatile. At the same time, I could cause somebody to act. I'm not justifying. But I'm saying that we need to deviate from that. What am I saying?
I want us to be factual.
Yeah.
I've cited you, Egbeko.
Yeah.
I've cited you, the mayor of Balikumbat, who was taken at the funeral ground.
Yeah.
I've cited the case of a girl whose father was kidnapped. She was pleading for its release, and
15-year-old child.
yes, 15-year-old.
yeah.
Yes. What is the provocation in all of this?
This is what I'm saying, Mr. Leon.
Yes.
One, the killings or the kidnappings is wrong. Now, we will not be able to understand why were they coming for the father, because it is wrong. You should not even kidnap anybody, because everybody has the right to live freely. That one is a very short thing. But now if you look at it, Mr. Leo, you and I on the ground know that if you are vulnerable, you don't make moves around that area or even out. For example, if I think that people castigate me as a CPD militant, there should be areas I don't want to go there, because at that time anybody can settle a score with me.
Okay.
Now look at the issue of the young girl who was brutally murdered. If I follow that scenario, I hear it goes further that they themselves had blame game on that spot. Why do you have to do this? But you see, you are accusing your colleague who has shot somebody. Why has he to do this? But you cannot bring the person back to life, because first, the kidnapping is, you cannot tell why, which is wrong, and secondly, a gunshot is triggered for reasons you cannot tell. And another time, another colleague is asking the one, why did you have to kill that young girl who was pleading? So you now discover that all the things around us, they are wrong.
Okay.
But as I said, Mr. Leo. Now,
this is somebody who is watching. Says, good evening, sir. As I am writing to you, an Amber boy in Bayi Panya just killed a young boy about 25 years because of so-called girlfriend, sir. There is more to life. I can I can't tell you my name for reasons you all know.
Yep.
Yes. What is the provocation that you kill a guy because of a girlfriend? What if the military guys who really had the guns were? You said something, I'm sure 2 days ago, that if we were living like this,
Yes.
the population size would have halved by now.
Yes, and I will repeat it. I say for 61 years of independence, if the military of Cameroon were living the way Amber Boys are living, separation would have been automatic. We wouldn't have needed a fight before separating. Just imagine that this man that I'm getting the information that was shot dead, a very quiet man. Amber does not kill now because you provoke them.
No.
Now, I want to distance from that one that there are causes. Amber kills now happily, as military was killing in the beginning happily. So that is, they have just taken over, because what explains the fact that this 15 years old girl was murdered? There's no reason. There can never be a justification for that. And my problem with what happened at the Big G in Bamenda lies with the organizers. How do you bring in somebody like Madu from Nigeria to Cameroon, knowing fully well that Bamenda is a war-torn zone? And with all the checkpoints in Bamenda, more than 17 checkpoints from up station to Bambili, how did these boys succeed to get to the scene and go back on Petep? Where are the guns coming from? Who is shipping the guns into Bamenda? There is something more to this that you and I are not aware, and we are still to know. Something somewhere is fishy.
Okay, I want you to react to this before we get to Madam Bibiana. Someone says, good evening, Mr. Leo and the panelists. Mr. Leo, your panelists seem not to understand what war is all about. The strategies are not meant to please civilians. This is what they're saying. Okay? The strategies are not meant to please civilians. They will not be happy with ghost towns and lockdowns, but it's a strategy. Killings and destructions are characteristics of war. Most people coming to TV stations are afraid to speak the truth for fear of arrest by the military. They prefer to misinform the public. So the true information, according to Ngole Neville, is that the killings and all of these are all war strategies. So you kill because of a strategy. Yeah.
Okay, let me respond to this. First, I want us to understand something. So far in Cameroon, there's no war. I've been in Sierra Leone. I've been in Liberia. And I've seen war. What we call war in Cameroon, we are having a crisis situation. I've not seen so far any bomb thrown anywhere that has scorched the place. I've not seen armored cars that are literally for fighting one against another. What I'm seeing is an asymmetric fighting where individuals hide, they come out, they act, they run and go, and the military fall on the civilians. There is no face-to-face fighting. So when we use the word war, let's be sincere. What that young man is saying, if he sees what war means, he will never mention that statement again. I've experienced war. And so I think it is time for us to understand that, irrespective of the fact that we are not encouraging and we do not even want to see that kind of thing happen in this country, we should not justify evil for no good reason. A group of persons was given mandate to settle a problem that started in 2016, and they went on high horses, chose to misbehave, and fueled a situation that became a serious armed crisis. We were expecting that the government should have done something for it to be handled, but they did nothing. Yes, we all agree on that. But my question here is, when you pick up a gun and you see an individual, like for example the 15-year-old child with no weapon, pleading for the life of his father, and you shoot at her, do I call that war? Do I call that a strategy? And they start arguing against themselves. Is that a war strategy? No. That is stupidity at its highest level. When you see an armless man, for example, a male who has gone for a burial, and you pick him up, and the next thing you think that is suitable as a solution is to shoot him down, is that war? No. I might want to say that there is what the Frenchman calls compte rendu. They are settling scores. I sat the other day in Babanki. They came out in the middle of the night, burned down people's businesses. How do those businesses concern whatsoever is happening? Then kidnap 9 persons. Then the next 2 days, they saw 2 butchers who went to buy their cow to come and sell. You caught the butchers, came and killed them at the entrance of the village and abandoned them there. How did those guys become a target of war? No, it has nothing to do with war. To an extent, they are out settling scores. Because if I ask, I was in Boya the other day, and I tried talking with somebody, told me where I don't even understand how they killed this boy who is so peaceful, simple. He does not even, why did they even kill him? That's a question that everyone is asking.
Mm-hmm.
Of recent, what happened in Manu Division, where guys came knocking doors and killing individuals. When you open your door, you are a dead person. How do we justify that and call it a war situation? It can never be in any way.
Okay. Before you line.
If it was a war situation, who is supposed to kill who?
Kill who?
What role have those people played?
To be dead, to be killed.
To be killed.
Okay. Good evening, Leonard journalist, Mr. KUM and the panelists. The killing is too much. Ambas and military are no longer dying, but civilians
are dying.
My uncle was kidnapped, Martin, and others in Big Babanki some few days ago. My uncle was released after paying a huge sum of money. After staying in captivity for days, as I'm talking to you now, he is between life and death in the hospital. He went to theater 3 times. I guess Prof. Mark Akumbom knows about this because he's from Babanki. Yes, when these are being done, and somebody says it's a war strategy, that's Ngola Navy says it's a war strategy. The war strategy is against who?
Now, Mr. Kum, let me come in. What Mr. Nevi said, he is very correct. I'm coming to that.
Okay.
And what Prof is saying is not a war. I don't buy with that, because wars are in category. It is war. I have seen open confrontation in Bali Road, my 90 between Amba and military. They have sporadic. It's just that our own is peculiar. Peculiar in that it has where it will get hot. Later on it goes back, but it is war. When you have open confrontation.
So
yeah, but now for the
no.
Now kill my brother.
No, you're not understanding, sir. I'm saying that this is a war. Is that you want to compare the magnitude of the war with another magnitude? If you go to Kivu or Katanga region, all these things are characteristics of war. I'm coming back to what David is saying. In characteristics of war, Mr. Leo, banditry comes in, rapes come in. People should verify common characteristics of war. All these things we are witnessing. Even if you go to Central African Republic, there are times that the UN-backed peacekeeping forces have been indicted for raping women. I mean, UN peacekeeping forces. I mean, in Central African Republic.
I know.
Many of them were jailed. Many of them were sent back. Even caused a diplomatic problems between Central African Republican government and the rest. So these things we are just analyzing because for us we want the thing to end. But the truth is that these are common characteristics. Look at the guy in Baye, the Amba guy who shot the guy of 25 years. I say it is common in a war situation, because when it happens, it's not called content on you. Even if you had a problem with a pen with somebody, that guy who's now in the bush holding guns, he simply comes down that, okay, since as you were always taking us and reporting my father to the gendarmes, and because you had money and we could not buy the case, now I have come now to settle the scores. I don't want us to behave as if these characteristics of war with us, it is so different that I'm saying that in the case even Somalia that we're talking about, Njanja, militiamen and all the like, theirs is even more devilish. I mean, theirs is more devilish. Now, when we talk about a war, the truth behind the whole thing, for those of us who move in those areas, I have met exchange of gun battles more than 20 times since the crisis started. Only rescued by God. The other time was at the Banga Bakundu, when I arrived in the midst of exchange of bullets. So, what am I saying? When there's a time that the military meets the amber and shooting begins, that is a war. Now, the reason, the kind of weapons they use now matters. We have not yet gotten to that level where you will start having warships. But we are gradually shifting, because you will consider it, even if it's civil war is war. There's a name war, because guns and things. I told people, the armored cars that I begin to see, the giant one I bypassed in Kumba last week, the armored car is as big as a house. You can't tell me that's no war. The bullet itself is as big as my head. Yeah, but if you have on this, you will die.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure.
I'm
sure he's talking when we saw what happened in was it in Ethiopia recently?
Yeah.
We saw the real exchange. Yeah.
There are bombs that are dropping.
Yes, I'm sure that is what he's talking about. But let's get over to Madam Mi Bibiana out there in Canada. Madam, please. Yeah. Madam, we're talking about justice here, and we say without justice there can be no peace. How do you account for this young lady who was killed? Who is going to account for her life? Who accounts for the life of the mayor who was killed, and the 4 guys who were killed also in a Big G snack? How do we get all of that? Who pays for them?
And I just want to thank my fellow panelists for the very, very succinct and intelligent discussion. I think it's a sign that all of us are in this together, and it is very, very important for the exchanges. For the question, who is going to account for the numerous killings, especially the most recent ones that you have just recounted? It's absolutely very, very touching and painful to see or hear that a young girl who lost her life for the reasons that she was trying to plead for the cause for her father's life. And even more disturbing, that a community leader who is trying to play the social life that every other human being is allowed to play as the right, his life will be cut short. And so many others. I don't think this is a time for blame game. This is a time for collective reflection. When we talk about justice, it is a time for us to ask ourselves that where is justice going to come from? Mm-hmm. Who is going to give us the justice? And who is going to be punished for what is going on in our region? What are we doing to stop this nightmare happening at our own corridors? Is there any enabling environment that we can even talk about justice back in Cameroon? Because as a grassroots woman, working for the past 7 years in poorer communities, there is total absence of justice. Justice is not just the state or the institutions. Even in our religious settings, in our families, we do punish children when they commit a crime. The Bible says, thou shalt not kill. And we know that when you kill somebody, you will be accounted for, you will go to hell. But nobody is preaching about or preaching against these killings, even in our families, in our communities. Somebody is killed and we go to bed and we sleep as if nothing has happened to our communities. And we think that somebody in Yaoundé will come and tell you, stop these killings. We have no moral values. We have no accountability to ourselves. I hear one of the panelists said, when this incident happened in Egbeke, I'm sorry for my wrong pronunciation, pardon me for that. People were celebrating in the hall. This is unacceptable, and this is gross disrespect for the human person. And these are the things that we are talking about in our country. These are the things that we are talking about in Cameroon. That nobody pays attention to the human lives that are being lost. Not even the church that stands as a moral obligation to the people. You pass through corpses to go to church, to go to mass. You are lost in the house of God. But you hear nothing is said about condemning or even speaking out for the killings. We are just concerned about many other things that is very pitiable to mention here. To answer your question, Mr. Leo, I think it is a time we take a deep reflection to ourselves that what is happening to me. If the world gets to a certain level, we will not be coming to the studio to come and talk about all of this. So it is a call for conscience for us to go back to our communities. Call a meeting, call a family meeting, account for everything that is happening. Children cannot pick up arms with instructions from the diaspora that kill this person because he is a CPDM, kill this person because he is a black leg, kill this person. And we know all of the people that are committing these atrocities. And we fool our arms because we think that they are protecting us. We cannot continue to stay quiet when people who are not supposed to be killed are being killed in the most brutal ways. We are not supposed to keep quiet. We are not even supposed to go to bed as a community when we get up in the bed and you cannot see your neighbor because you get children firing guns. We cannot sit in a country where a military that is supposed to protect the people are the ones making life unbearable for those people. We need to start with justice with ourselves. We need to go back to ourselves. Even there's going to be a national dialogue. There should be a community dialogue amongst ourselves for us to be accountable for who is doing this to all of us. Who is killing us and why are we killing ourselves? Whenever or whatever will happen to us, are you going to bring back that young girl that was killed? Are you going to bring back that father who is killed and the family is in total pains at this moment? When we'll be able to have the separation and the glamour that we are all having, are we going to bring back all the lives that were lost in Egbeke with a twinkle of an eye? Are we going to bring those lives back? It is a community issue. I've always told people that every life that is lost in this war is a communication to me and you. It is a call for you to do something back in your community. These guys are not coming from elsewhere. They are coming from our homes. They are coming from our families. They are coming from our churches. They are coming from our back doors. They are coming from our neighborhood. We know all of them. Why can't we have this conversation back in our communities to see how we as a people can bring back those moral values? Thou shalt not kill. Back in my community, when you kill somebody, even by witchcraft, there is this thing, the community will sit and you will be excluded from the community by daylight. What about us now that we carry guns? We use guns for fighting. We never fabricated guns. We carry guns. Even we see these children in the community, they carry guns and they parade around us, and we stay and keep quiet. And somebody sits abroad and tells you that we are in a war zone. Do this and do that. I think this is a moment of reckoning. This is a crucial moment that people need to sit back. It is a time we can describe that darkness has fallen from us, from hell. It is a time to describe Cameroon as a pit of hell, darkness from the pit of hell. It is a time that nobody should go to sleep when people are being killed, children are being killed in the most brutal way. I think this conversation should be taken back into our communities. This conversation should be taken back into our families. This conversation should be taken back even into our political meetings. We should not go a day to talk about political rallies, all of the glamour that we are talking, and we cannot talk about these things that are taking away our very existence as a person, as a people, and as our collective humanity. I think the place of justice is in me. The place of justice is in you. The place of justice is in us. Let us look at each other. If I kill you, who am I going to talk with tomorrow? If I get the independence, who am I going to sit and enjoy that beautiful country with? There is no human being, when you are a leader, you are a father, that you say you will not talk to them. There is no way they will say the diasporan, they cannot talk to them because they are Amazonians. There's no way they will say they will not talk to people because they are separatists. Before they became a separatist, or before they became these ideologies, there were some people, and we are still going to be those same people. And so as a father and as a leader, I think we have the obligation now to see how we can talk to ourselves, create that enabling environment for people to start talking. I think that is my take. Thank you, Mr. Liu.
Thank you very much, Madam Bibiana. Me, who is coming in there presenting what she sees as justice. Now, Ndiwum Emmanuel, let's look at the justice. If we have to give justice, you see, we have to start by forgiving ourselves. Yeah, but who is giving the orders for the killings to go on by a judgment? Is there somebody who has control over what is happening in the Northwest and Southwest today?
Mr. Liu, everybody knows that others, we have seen videos of people come on openly to say, "Gary their hands." Those are orders. We have seen people come out openly and say, "Your head will be hung on a stick in the next 2 hours."
Yeah, but many persons also think or believe that nobody actually has control over those guys today, because they never take orders from people.
But there are still some of them who still take orders. It cannot be mitigated to zero level. And you have to understand that Amber has no friend. This is what people should know. Amber has no friend. Those who were even feeding Amber have fallen in the dragnet of Amber. But what I want to say is that when we are talking about justice, there is a way that can drastically reduce this tension. Those people who were arrested since 2016, at that time, who never took up guns and they are still in prisons today, I think they need to be released. Just their release alone will play a role in calming down the hearts of many people who will be able to collaborate with the state and the state forces. There are some people who know the atrocities of these boys, and just because their family members are in prison, they stay quiet, they decide not to collaborate. Let me tell you that the government remains with a knife and a yam, and they can choose the better part to cut and chew. In 1984, in this very country, the coup plotters who almost brought down President Biya, barely a few years when he ascended power, he applied his wisdom, absorbed some of them. They are still in the government today. I know they are following this program. Some of them later on formed political parties and became Mr. Biya's alliance. They were forgiven. They are working with him today. Even if some of them have worked so hard to bring him down, to make sure that his New Deal and all his plans should never see daylight, so that he should be blamed for his leadership, at least they are still working with them. I think that wisdom can still be applied to another dimension today, Mr. Liu. Contrary to what Prof said a while ago, that those in the diaspora should never step foot in Cameroon, I want to think that there should be an open window of forgiveness, clemency. We know those who will not come, but we know that out of 100, if the President of the Republic decides today that I want to go for a national reconciliation approach, and that all these people have fallen short the glory of God. We need to bring them on board to talk peace. Cameroonians are very intelligent, and Cameroonians are law-abiding citizens. They are forgiving citizens. They will know that if these people accept peace to come back to Cameroon, because these orders that these people are giving that they should kill people in Norway and South today are no worse than the orders that the coup plotters in 1984 were given that the president himself be taken down. But he still had the heart to forgive them and absorb them. If he can still think again from another side and bring these people, so that Camerooners should be aware. Why am I insisting on this? That Camerooners should be aware that the president gave an opportunity for national reconciliation. And these people.
Let me cue you. Now, national reconciliation. What took place in 1984 was an attempt to topple government within the context of continuing with the government of Cameroon. What we have for today is a move by persons who say they are not Cameroonians. And when you even say if government were to give clemency and a host of others, they will tell, the government will tell you that, well, we have said that anybody who drops their arms, they can come back to Cameroon. We've seen some persons pardon. Let me finish. But what if government says we have pardoned you, like an extension of what the president has done already, by asking persons to drop their...
To go to DDR.
Yes, and go to DDR. What if government were to move a step further by saying that, okay, all of you guys, you can come back. And people say, no, what we want is outright separation. Will you force them?
No, at that time...
accept the clemency?
That is where I was coming to.
Okay.
At that time, even I myself, if the government can equip me with a gun, I'll go after them. That one will be clear that the government has done its best. And those people who do not want the peace of you and I living in Cameroon, because I cherish Cameroon. I have said it, I am saying it, and I shall die saying it. At that time, I will even solicit the government to equip some of us with guns, and we go after these people. But as of now, it has not been done. And when you talk about 1984, let me tell you that these people got an opportunity because of long frustration in them. Most of these people we call terrorists today were patriots of Cameroon yesterday. But because of the bad governance of Mutabia that we have in place, pushed them far. And because it went far, they have come back in a different way. That's what they say. When you beat a child with the left hand, you bring back the child with the right hand. If you beat the child and you lock the door for that child not to come in, you are giving an opportunity for that child to go far. That is what is happening. For so long a time, because of bad governance, these people got frustrated and they have come back to us in a different way. I want to insist that if the government of Mutabia was taking into consideration the well-being of the citizens of this country, all these people abroad today would not have had the opportunity to come back fighting us. So the person who has given the opportunity to come back and fight Cameroon is the government of Cameroon that has refused to acknowledge from the beginning that the citizens of Cameroon needed what is better. Some of these people know that Cameroon, as they call it, Cameroon in miniature, has everything that they have seen out of Cameroon. Yet they don't have the means to come back, harness it, and develop their own country. That one gave rise to frustration, and it is that frustration that they are pouring on us, the poor people, today. We are paying a price to have nurtured and respected enough an unpatriotic government that was not supposed to be in place. So that in essence, their frustration has gone far and they are pouring in us back on. That's the point of regret. If they were fighting Yaoundé, leaving us free.
Let's look at the place of justice here. I want us to look at justice. Persons are being killed, and regrettably, most of those who have been killed in the past 2-3 months are mostly civilians, are not either the military or the Amber Boys. The essence of this fight was for justice. for justice accordingly. Yes. Okay. Restoration of what, or marginalization, the fixing of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But in the process, there is a lot of we have lots of crimes that are being. Yes. How do we fix this?
Okay. Before we get to talk about fixing, I remember that when this thing started, those who picked up arms actually picked up arms because they said they wanted to protect the citizens and they needed to fight for an independent state of, in quotes, Ambazonia. Or maybe the restoration of the state of Southern Cameroons, as they said. And I think a lot of persons were so buoyant, were happy about it. I think I, as an individual, I should say that, was very happy that, okay, something is happening that is good. They said the marginalization that the Anglophones, in quote, have been going through needs to stop. Yes, that was a just cause, a very just cause. But of recent, what we are experiencing is something that, to an extent, it is becoming difficult to explain. That you rose up pretending to want to stand for a person, for a people, and now you have turned against the same people and you are killing them. We might justify and say it is a strategy of war. We might justify and say it is normal to happen, but all those things are in themselves evil. If we have to get to a place where we call a spade, we will say the Cameroon government has failed Cameroonians. Yes, that one I will keep on saying it. The Cameroon government has failed, and every Cameroonian knows that the Cameroon government has failed. But should we, as a people, accept that those who we call our children, our brothers, should kill our own people? No. It should not be accepted by no reason, no cause. And there should be no justification for such an act or for such acts. If we have to look at solutions to this, there are a lot of things that we need to look at. Are we looking for justice? Do we want peace? You know, most of the times, the same people who are killing our people today used to say that we need justice for the lives that the government soldiers have taken, for launching the fight, for killing civilians. That's what they asked. Our people say no, they do not want any more justice, they wanted peace. Today it seems as if our people are asking for justice against them, not even against the government. But how do we deal with this issue, which is taking a lot of lives? Because our interest is to see a peaceful environment once more.
Okay.
Our interest is to see a people without killings. So how do we go about it?
How do we go about
We
it?
need to get to a place where, primarily, I think the government still have a lot to say about this. The government needs to call to the table both sides and have a chat, a discussion. And apart from that discussion, there is need for, I don't want to use the word DDR, there's necessarily need for an amnesty to go further than what had been done before, calling for people to go to DDR, so that maybe those who are doing this thing, thinking that maybe they are condemned forever, can see a further opportunity to say, okay, let's drop our arms.
Okay, we've just been joined, by Brandon, who is coming very, very late. We're getting almost towards the end of the program. That is why he has to come in. Your first take on the killings and how justice should be meted on who is responsible. Who should now pay? Is it the Amber Boys who are killing? Is it the leaders who are ordering for the killings? Though are here, they no longer take orders from anybody. Is it maybe some person says some elites are also involved in this? Some say, okay, some chiefs are involved, and it has become a whole score settling issue.
Good evening, Mr. Leo. I want to say good evening to my co-panelists. I'm apologizing for the late start. It is due to some unforeseen circumstance. I want to say on the issue of who is supposed to take responsibility of the killings. There is no court in the world that you are going to take the government for bad governance in a country like Cameroon. Cameroon is bad in government. It is in every African country. We have 2 or 2 lapses that the government is doing, which the people are not really necessarily happy about it. So who is going to take responsibility? I think there is nobody who is going to take responsibility, because those who are in Europe and America who are influencing this war, the end of it is that maybe they will end up in jail, the Amber Boys will be killed, and that is the end. And it is not enough justice for the chaos they have caused in the country of Cameroon, because people have lost loved ones, Cameroonians have lost their life, and there is mass destruction of human lives and property in Cameroon. And if somebody ends up in jail for the rest of his life for killing about 300 people, that is not enough justice. So, Mr. Lo, I think on the way forward of this issue is that Cameroonians need to talk. We need to talk to ourselves. We need to tell ourselves the truth. And we, the Anglophones who are affected by this problem, it is high time we put our heads together to see how we can get to an end of this problem. The government of Yaoundé is in her comfort zone. She does not have time for what is happening, because we are practically killing ourselves. When Chris Ano calls for a lockdown in Limbe, how does that concern Pobia in Yaoundé? How does that concern the people who are doing their business in Yaoundé and Douala, and they are living large, they are living their lives? So Anglophones, this is the time Anglophones need to come and talk sense within themselves. Mr. Leo, my problem is that the political opposition landscape of Cameroon is divided. This is a time that we need a united opposition. This is a time that we need a united Anglophone to come and talk and give the government of Mr. Biya an agenda that this is what the Anglophones we need. Because the Amber has no mandate to talk for anybody. Amber is a terrorist group that is operating as a terrorist group, and it does not have any mandate of talking for the Anglophones. So we Anglophones, we need to have an intra-Anglophone conference which is going to see everybody as a common man, be you a professor, be you a doctor, whosoever. Everybody comes to a table and we tell ourselves the truth, make an agenda and give it to the regime of Yaoundé that this is what the Anglophone need. When the agenda is made, then we can decide as a people and tackle the terrorist group in Northwest and Southwest. So when we are talking about the consequence, or we are talking who is going to pay, there is not enough payment for the lives that have been lost. Even if you decide to jail all those who are in US, America, China for the rest of their life, it is not going to still bring the life of the principal who was killed in Bamenda, the life of the 16-year girl who was killed in Kumba. So it is a time for Anglophones, the politicians, the civil society, the opposition leaders, and whosoever thinks the end of this crisis has come. We need to have an inter-Anglophone conference that we are going to tell ourselves as Anglophones. The problem with Anglophones is that we love this. I want to be the leader. Every Anglophone who is elected wants to be the leader. And that is one of the reasons of this crisis. Because if there was an educated followership, Mr. Lowe, we wouldn't have been where we are today. Because people are going to leave the SDF, they are going to leave parties because they want to be leaders of their own parties. And because those who are picking up arms, those voices in the bushes who are picking up arms to kill civilians, to destroy properties, they are not educated. That is why, Mr. Lowe, you cannot tell somebody who is educated, even though I'm not much educated, that I should go and take arms and destroy a free economy and kill a civilian for no just cause. I will not do that. It is because of these people, these masses, they are not educated. That is why you can have somebody from America influence them to pick up arms and to destroy things. And because everybody wants to be a leader, the leader of CPDM say, the leader of SDF say, I will not do what the leader of CLM wants. The CLM say, I will not do this. I will not. So this opposition and this division within the political class, it is also an influence. It is also a consequence of the war that we are facing today. Because if the opposition political class in Cameroon,
not in this chaos, Brother Bibian, I want to look at the international community. Since okay, far, yes. Apparently, I forgot about yes. We are talking about justice. Can justice, because when we talk of justice, we hear about the International Court of Justice, we hear about the international community. Can they really exert some pressure for justice to be done, and how could that be achieved?
Well, I think I said there's no war that ends without justice being administered.
Okay.
There's no war in the world that ended without justice being administered. If you look at it like what my brother was just said about Anglophones, they need to come together and all the like, it's a very good idea, but the situation will find ourselves, it cannot just be Anglophones as per se. You cannot end this war without talking with those who are holding guns. It's impossible. Because you don't have the guns, but they have the guns. They might be few, but the fact that they have weapons and you don't have a weapon means that they have a role to play. And if you look at it, when the Rwandan genocide ended, there were some steps that were put in place. One of the major steps was that people were paid for bringing out their guns. So those who kept guns, what happens that the moment they felt they were poor because it was kept open. Anytime you were bringing your gun through a particular channel, you were not, even if you bought it after 2 years, you were sure of receiving no less than 300,000 francs per gun. So imagine I buried the gun in my house. I'm using it for armed robbery. Then I get scared I might be arrested. Tomorrow I just bring the gun, and then you see they'll count the money, write my name down, bam, and they collect the money and collect the gun. That's how they succeeded in reducing the circulation of arms that had been. Now, concerning the role of the international community, as I said, the international community has a way they work. It will boil back to what Professor Mark said a couple ago, like he was talking about one, like, and I came in and said, no, it is what? The only thing is that it is categorized. When we are moving towards the red zone, it start getting the community, but as I said, whether it has gone to that level or not, it is being documented. People will be surprised. If you look at Rwandan genocide, the documents that came out, even before the president himself, who owned Radio Colin, who was already old, getting to almost 70, was hiding somewhere in France. The documents that brought about him, he himself never knew that those crimes were kept in a file. How about now that's the digital age? Now, you see, from the way we're looking at the international community, I keep telling people that provocation is at the center of all of this. But as I said, people will differ. I took as a fact because if you go to like the various gendarmerie brigades, see how many number of bikes that are there. I've been to Bamenda, for example, and the bike rider tells us that the numerous checkpoints frustrate them. Each time they are caught with their bike, is impounded. Sometimes the days pass, and they tell you the money you have to pay is 25 times this. Many of them have abandoned. This is a investigation I'm giving to Mr. Leon. When I say provocation, because you can be forced out of business, and there's no justification. But frustration, like what Mr. Ndiwum was saying, has caused most of them to get back to where they are. But why is it so?
You don't want to answer any of my questions today.
Come again?
You don't want to answer any of my questions.
No, I've talked about international community now. No, I'm saying that, Mr. Leon, yes. You cannot take international community to answer without taking a look at supporting facts running around it. Because these supporting facts are the things that will trigger the international community to get in at the point in time. Because the more we are not tackling it to end it, is the more the international community is gradually getting ready to come into it. Because it's already going out of hands. Because I said there's a level called red zone.
What is going out of hand?
The war is going out of hand.
Okay.
When I say out of hand, because if you look at the total number of deaths, it keeps increasing. And as it increases, first I've told you here that it is documented. The documentation tells you that we are getting to a point whereby you will start getting the putting in place of special commissions at the level of international community.
Isn't it rather disturbing that previously the deaths we heard about military and armed boys, but today when you say yes, who is going to be indexed for this increased killings of civilians?
I said earlier, Mr. Lo, it looks like we are not getting the point. I said this is a war. The index is on both sides. I keep saying this. I've mentioned several times that governors will go in for, amber generals will go in for, those who are controlling the bosses, wherever they are, will go in for. You cannot take one side and indict them, because I said this is crisis of war. In a war, military will rape, amber will rape. military will kill, Amba will kill. Even those who seek to play a major role in teleguiding it directly or indirectly, or fueling it like Radio Colin that was fueling it and not even holding guns. They have a role to play.
Okay.
So everybody has to be accountable because we all collectively are involved in it in one way or the other.
Good evening, Mr. Leo, and to you all in the house. Your program is very educative. Esther is writing from Kumba. Good evening to you, Esther. Madam Bibiana, who is also coming in from Canada there. We want to look at, you are out of the country now, and you saw how other conflicts ended and the implications of the international community. For years now, they are growing, the more silence. Are you very comfortable? Do you suspect something is not right with the way they perceive and act towards what is happening in Cameroon?
Thank you very much, Mr. Liu. I just want to laud the effort of the previous speakers for reiterating the actions that will come after the war. The fact that the international community is silent now does not mean that people will go free or scotch-free for what is happening in Cameroon. And having worked on the Rwandan genocide and still working on post-war genocide in Rwanda, it is very, very important for us to remind ourselves and even those in powers that no evil will go unpunished. No crime against humanity will go unpunished. And this is something I do remind everybody and all those that are in offices now, thinking that when there is a situation of war, we can benefit and go scotch-free. There will definitely going to be an accountability. It is that nobody is turning a blind eye. If they tell you that they are turning a blind eye, they are taking time, and everything is being documented. So it is time for us to educate. I am shocked and surprised that all the human rights conferences that they come and hold in Cameroon, no government officials takes the time to come and sit and understand or study the human rights abuses or violations that are happening in Cameroon. And that is why we could sit and people are killed, and all we do is, oh, let's write a statement, let's do this. There is no day of mourning. There is no day that will set aside to say, oh, these people have been killed like this, let's set aside a day of mourning. During the Rwandan genocide, people were killed, neighbors killed each other, and people thought that when they send them to jail, that will be all. People sat abroad and perpetrated the genocide in Rwanda. Today, as we speak, people are still being arrested and brought to Rwanda in line with the Rwandan genocide. So there will be no escape. I repeat, there will be no escape. Whether you are a general, you are a president of the republic, probably that is the reason why the head of state, President Pobia, I really do not have any apologies for this, for speaking out on this. Maybe that is the reason why the head of state, President Pobia, is still there, because definitely after his mandate, he will be tried in the International Court of Justice for these crimes that are committed in the country during his reign as president. And I just want to say to Cameroonians that there is hope. As killings are going on and our lives are being used every day as grasshoppers, there is hope. Those of us that will live to see the end of this crisis, we will stand to testify that we have risen above, and we will be able to speak out for those who have been killed. I think that is the message. If we are talking today, Mr. Leo, it's because people who have been killed, they have no voice. So we have to speak like people who are speaking for people who will never speak. There is no point for us to be afraid of insult or afraid of being behind bars or afraid of being killed. There is no escape. When you stand to speak for the marginalized and for people who, there is no point to be afraid. And I'm very happy for this program. And I'm very happy for you for bringing out people to come and speak. We have to speak, even if I am Abacho or whoever or a general wants to kill me, they should be ready to kill me. I will be very happy to die for speaking out and for speaking the truth. There is a problem. Something is happening. Unless we are able to underline the truth of what is happening to us, we can never talk about justice. The underlying point about justice is bringing the truth to the limelight, making people to understand what has brought us to this point. After 56 years of leadership in a country, you think you can take a country to bloodshed? And there is no agenda, that you have put in place to manage the lives of the people that you are being accountable is. You stand to be accountable for. Back in the communities where this problem started, people are marginalized. You could not go to a gendarmerie brigade and speak as a person, the person who understands you. Everywhere was French. Those are the same scenarios that are happening. And I ask ourselves, can you use the same problems, the same things that caused a war to solve a problem? And those of us who have carried arms to fight and challenge the status quo, what difference, what change have we brought to the scenario? Because our people are still being oppressed. They are still being marginalized, and even double marginalization by those who have taken up arms to fight for them. This war has mainly taught us how divided, how wicked, how inhuman we as a people, we as Anglophones, we are. Right from time immemorial. I'm really, really sorry to say this, but I think with what is happening, and we are not able to have a body that can speak on behalf of the Anglophones, that can speak to the diasporan groups that are committing these atrocities, that can speak to the government of Cameroon that say, no, this is the problem, can we address this? That can speak to ourselves as a people. This is what we want, and this is where we want to be. We are so divided. You go to the rims of the political setup, there is total division. CPDM, there is division. SDFC, every day you see people sacking and rebranding each the other. Meanwhile, there is total chaos in our communities.
Okay, madam.
This is my take.
Okay, madam.
This is hello.
Yeah.
What is the situation?
Madam, we have 4 persons. We have 4 persons in the studio who have to talk for 10 minutes. So you just learn.
Thank you very much, Mr. Leo. We as a people, we need to put ourselves together and we need to talk things over and get things right for the people who are suffering. Thank you, and over.
Okay, thank you very much. Prime and Media Prime takes exception to some of the facts, like saying that the President of the Republic will have to stand trial for what is happening in the Northwest and Southwest region. Yes. Now, how do we find justice and position Anglophones and having a voice to speak truth to power for an end?
Mr. Leo, finding a solution is something that, like I said earlier, it is a corporate duty. We all need to sit down and look for a solution to the problem. You know, like I mentioned earlier, it is true that we have to expect much from the government of Cameroon, but we shouldn't exempt ourselves as being part of the solution providers to this situation. The government is a major player, but each Cameroonian, and particularly each person from the Northwest and the Southwest region, has a responsibility to play. I don't want to be using the word Anglophones because that word has a colonial base connotation. You see, most of us, we keep on using that as our measure weapon. But I want to remind us that if you look at our own culture as the people from the Northwest and the Southwest region, and Africans to be general, we have what defines our basic identity as a people, the basic principles of our identity as a people is humanism. We are supposed to be humane. That is a common characteristic that cuts across Africa that defines who we are. We are supposed to be those individuals who show love to one another, but we are the ones that are killing one another. It is unfortunate. If that is what is defined as Anglophone, then there is a problem with it, which I will not want to be part of it. We have a problem in that we have forgotten the particular being one another's keeper. It is no more a principle among us. We have become one another's killer. And so, if you ask me what I think should be a solution to this, primarily, it is a corporate solution. It is not a solution that should be expected from an individual. But like we said, the government has a major role to play because they are the ones that are running the nation. They have the yam and the knife. But as a people, we cannot sit and keep waiting when our own people are dying every day. So we must as well sit together as a community and think a way out. That also, I want to take a point that is so important. For a long period of time, we have rejected. I know I said earlier that most of those who are sanctioning the killings from the diaspora should not come to Cameroon because they will be judged. Yes, even if they are not coming, they will be judged. But I want to also say that it is time for us to also understand that they are part of the community. And so it is important for us to hear their view and know exactly what they think about how they intend to restore the statehood as well as bring peace to the people who are being killed.
Yeah.
And apart from that, those who are sitting in the bushes who are doing the killing, if we give you the power, if you are given power to rule over this particular piece of land that you are fighting for, how will you justify the evil that you are creating? We need to hear that, and that will be enough for us to sit down and say, okay, having heard from these two sides, from this side, we can now say, okay, this is what we think that we need to do. We want to sit together, we communicate among ourselves, then we come up with a solution. Then we can now say, okay, government, we have come up with this as a proposed solution. What do you have to give? But if we do not have a forum to talk among ourselves, at the end of the day, we'll have no solution to the problem.
We're talking about justice. Who stands today as the voice to articulate the real concerns of Anglophones today? Because that is even the problem. Who is suing for who? Yeah.
No, it's that's a very difficult one. That's a difficult one. But I want to think that I'll go back to. I told you that.
I hope you answer my question.
Yes.
Because I asked questions here.
Yes. No, you are asking who should articulate it.
Yes.
And as I started from the beginning, I said I came with my solution graph.
Okay.
And on that solution graph, at the base, you have the suffering population. Step 2, you have the CSOs, the civil society organizations. We have the political parties, we have the religious bodies, and then we have the other 8 regions of Cameroon that should have been feeling the pain of the 2 regions to rise up and force the government to take an immediate action. This one still boils down to concerted or inclusive approach that the government needs to use. At this time, let me tell you, where we are now, an Anglophone will never be trusted in this country as he was even trusted before this crisis. Because it has been proven. The Anglophone elites we have in Yaoundé, they are there for their private businesses. That is the more reason why they have exodus themselves all from the Anglophone regions to stay in Yaoundé, Douala, and enjoy. So, and that is where I differ with the word Anglophone president solving the Anglophone problem. I want a Cameroonian who is genuine for all Cameroonians, who think Cameroonian, who think for the common good of every Cameroonian, be it Tukumbere, be it Ngamanduka, or whosoever. So this idea of thinking that Anglophone president can solve the problem, I don't see it from that lens. So I want to think that if the government is honest enough, there's only one thing left. There is no pride for the president to come out and apologize to Cameroonians. that my 41 years of rule has not been a success. It has led Cameroonians to agony, tension, extremism. And at this point in time, civil societies, political opposition parties, religious bodies, come, let's sit together and concern. It cannot come from one political party. It cannot come from the president alone. It will never work. It will come from Cameroonians who must have sat together. Unfortunately, the war shall end where it ought to have started. Round table.
Who today can pose to speak on behalf of the Anglophones? You still dodge the question somehow.
No,
yes.
I said there is nobody.
There's no Anglophone. Okay, there's no Anglophone.
As of now, there is none. Let's be sincere to ourselves.
Okay.
Even if you bring in the prime minister today, I don't believe in them. Anglophone elites are one of the most dishonest people in this country today. I cannot believe in them. I'm saying my mind.
Are you an elite or not? Are you an elite or not?
I can be an elite, but I am not an elite with so much authority. Those who have the authority to speak.
Those who are in the village should know that they should not trust you because you are an elite yourself.
No, that political elite. That's what I'm saying. Because yes, political elite.
Yes.
Yeah. Now we are asking if we have any Anglophone who can.
No, I mean Anglophones who can say we are carrying the Anglophone problem to wherever. Yes, who should speak on behalf of Anglophones today?
Yeah, no, I think Anglophones like Barrister Keremuna, even myself sitting here, bring the thing to me. I will take it to wherever it's supposed to go. Those boys are supposed that do not have horns on their heads. So, but my problem is that I will not want to buy the idea that there are no Anglophones. Give them a trial and see the magic. Even Professor Mark sitting here, give him a trial and tell him take transitional period 3 years.
What the young do?
And let us find one. I don't want to be calling names. I'm talking about the ones people I know here. I know Professor Mark. I know Barrister Keremuna. I know myself. Sitting here, I want to talk about the people that I know. If you put them in front, because the issue of saying nobody can, I don't want to agree with that. It's like we are going to CPD in a way that says that there's no other person who can rule except President Pobia, who's a natural candidate. These are fallacy statements, which I don't think they should be needed somewhere. Give somebody a chance, then you would know whether he can do it or not. But all the same, there are people who can take us out of this. But we must be able to agree. I keep telling people, when you are a scientist, you get into the lab and you produce a cyborg, and the cyborg comes out, and your software that you use in control the cyborg crashes, and the cyborg start causing order. You, the scientist, is the problem more than the cyborg. What do I mean? People should hear very well. If good governance was in place, Amber would not have existed. I say Amber would not have existed in the history of mankind. That was something I tell people, that Amber is a creation of the government because the government had failed to address things when it was needed. Then here comes the monster eating us as we speak. So at the end of it, until we call these things a spade, I keep telling people, Amber is doing wrong, yes. But how can we bring Amber to order? No. But the government that we call legitimate, that people voted, can be held responsible. And the government takes the lead, automatically, if they put a good measure in place, I want to tell you, Amber will disappear with the twinkle of an eye if the right procedures are put in place, liberating political prisoners who are in prison, the Ayuk Tabi and all the like, granting clemency. I've been explaining these things. I don't want to talk about it again because I explained today, explained tomorrow, Ewane is looking at me. And the next day, they are doing a contrary thing. So I don't know why it's evil spirit that is with them, but I pray that Senior Apostle John Chi and the rest of the men of God, please, your prayer is not good enough. Increase the speed of the prayer. So let these people in Yaoundé who think that they are very okay should come to realize that something was blocking their eyes from solving. Mr. Leo, the truth is that any day a top child of a minister or general is affected in one way or the other down the crisis, the solution will come with immediate effect. Because those you see on the ground, they are not the ones that affect the people concerned. Killing a military man, killing a civilian, killing an Amber will not solve the problem in the least. But a genuine dialogue, which means the trustworthiness of the government to say, now, 7 years above is enough. Let us get to the table. As long as Yaoundé keeps marauding around, everybody will account for this. Whether you are a governor, minister, or Amber, or whatever, we will answer questions not long from now. Thank you.
Okay. And Brandon, what should be the way out to get the voice? Because you said it was important, though you went general in Cameroon. How do we get that Anglophone voice that would also speak some sense into Anglophones themselves? Because those who have been killed are Anglophones.
Mr. Leo, I think if I want to recall from what Mr. Fa is saying, that is, I can say it is a double standard, full measure, because AMBA is a terrorist organization that is hiding under the code of Anglophone crisis. There was no gathering of Anglophones to give anybody in US, in China, in Switzerland, or whatsoever Western country the mandate to fight for the freedom of Anglophones. Our elites like Cardinal Tumi, may so rest in peace, the late Ndiwum Emmanuel, are people who have fought for the freedom and the right of Anglophones by convening an intra-Anglophone conference to bring Anglophones of all walks, all types, all tribes and cronies together for one agenda. So when a group of people who are power mongers, who are seeking for political recognition, who are selfish and self-centered, who are bloodthirsty and sucking demons, they gather in US and America and they send guns and give illiterate and bangers, smokers in the bush to kill civilians, to kill people, to cause chaos in the economy. They do not have the mandate of anybody. So it should be clear that the Ambazonia whatsoever is for their self, is for their own. So if the Anglophones need that, if the Anglophones want the end of this so-called Anglophone problem, it is a time for us to have an intra-Anglophone conference. But the problem now is that there is the problem of I want to be the leader. That is it, because we have the Akemuna, we have the senators in Boya and all those. When you say we want to have an intra-Anglophone conference, as it was struggle, we had the mayor of Boya who single-handedly stopped that the conference. You know, this is the power, the division within our elite class of the Anglophone, which is causing the continuous killing of civilians by those Amber boys. Because as it stands now, we don't know if it is the Amber problem or the Anglophone problem which is causing the instability in the Anglophone region. Because Amber is killing for its own reason, and the legitimate Anglophones have a different cause which has been kept aside for the meantime. Because you cannot bring the Anglophone problem and they will tame you an Amber. So an Amber is fighting for a different cause, and for a different cause, and Anglophone problem is kept aside. The Anglophone problem should not be misunderstood for Amber, because Amber has the mandate of nobody. So it is a time for all Anglophones of every walk and tribe to come together to see how we can have an intra-Anglophone conference, which is going to bring every Anglophone, be you big, be you small, be you professor, whether Mark Anthony or professor or doctor, whosoever, to come together as a common man. So we can have a common agenda and give it to Yaoundé regime that this is the cry of the Anglophone. Mr. Leo, I tell you, if we come together as a people, the Anglophones, the mothers in the village, the masses, those youth who are frustrated in the village because of this crisis, we come together as a people. We have an agenda. We tell the government this is the cry of the Anglophone, and the government meets to our problem. We can solve this Amber nonsense within a twinkle of an eye. Really? I am optimistic about that, Mr. Ndiwum. I have the panel, please. I have the panel, please. Sir. I am optimistic about this that. Excuse me. If Anglophones can come together and we have an agenda as Anglophones, we can end this nonsense. Because they are Amber boys in the bushes. This Ebeko constitution, those Amber, they were living in that Ebeko village. They did not just come immediately and start killing people. They passed. It was a point and kill, point and kill, point and burn, and it was just sporadic. It was specific. So you see that there are people who are aware that they are Amber living here and they are still keeping silent. Okay, this one says because they don't feel represented, and they think that this Amber are still fighting for them. But if Anglophones can come together and have a single agenda and have one agenda, we can end this crisis within a twinkle of an eye. So I think the voice of the Anglophones are the Anglophones themselves, and they are the one to take the lead of solving this problem. Without that, whether the international community, the government, or whosoever, this crisis is going to continue till the kingdom come.
Okay, we want to thank you, Brandon, for coming for the first time on Prime Hour.
Mr. Leo, thank you. It is a privilege, and I hope I will be here another time earlier than this to give my views to my viewer all those who are watching me, thank you for giving me the privilege.
Okay, you just to know that you're also coming from the Southwest region. And the Kangaroo Man, thank you for coming. And once again, congratulations for the successful organization of the awards.
Thanks very much, Mr. KUM. I'm sure that we'll try to be here again. Subsequently, the traffic was another hold-up. That tells us the kangaroo nature of the country. But then, Mamin Dumsali watching us from Kumba once more. Good evening, and thanks very much for being equally here present.
Okay, thank you, Ndiwum, for coming.
Yeah, it's always a pleasure to be here. We must keep reminding ourselves with all the stakeholders that no one wins a war. Only the arms dealer wins a war. So if Yaoundé can start asking questions, we don't fabricate ammo cars in Cameroon. We don't have routes. Where are the ammo cars coming from? What is used to buy one ammo car can take kilometers of route. So we need to keep asking permanent questions to ourselves. Who is winning a war? And the war is against who?
Okay. We want to thank you to Madam Bibiana for coming today.
Thank you so much, Mr. Leo. We remain connected to the values of our common humanity, and we cannot allow the lives of 8 million Cameroonians to the government and to the Ambazonian fighters. There is need for us to unite as a common front to face who our enemies are for justice to reign. Thank you, and God bless us. Oh, thank you, my beautiful and intelligent panelists. More grease to your elbows. I was happy working with you all.
Thank you too, and to you, Desmond, and Eli for production, Tabitha and Brian for supervision. Prof. Mark, thank you for coming.
Thank you very much, Mr. Leo, for the opportunity. Let me use this opportunity to announce to Cameroonians and those out of Cameroon that we will be having Pan-African Cultural Festival that will be starting on Thursday, the 30th of December, here in Douala, Bona Musadi at Pakovita, starting from 10 on Thursday. So the Panafest Excellence Award will be ending on Sunday the 3rd. So we are inviting the population to be part of the event.
Thank you all for watching. So many messages came in, but we also had many panelists tonight to discuss on this very burning issue. Tomorrow is going to be another great day for another great show. We thank you all and say stay blessed. Bye-bye.